Hey everyone, we've been talking about the Spectre in the Silver Age. Last video, the Spectre received a curse, and now things are only going to get worse for the being as he finally takes his first steps towards becoming the wrathful spirit of vengeance we know today. Then at the end of this video, the Spectre is going to die as his time in the Silver Age comes to an end. Be sure to subscribe to Comic Island for more videos concerning comic book history, new and old. Following the events that left the Spectre with his new weakness, the Spirit was left conflicted about himself. When Jim Corrigan witnessed a criminal shoot a police sergeant, wounding the man, the Spectre flew into a rage, emerged from Corrigan's body, and outright killed the criminal. When the police sergeant himself objected to the superhero's actions, the Spectre struck that man too, horrifying Corrigan. The detective captain decided to no longer allow the Spectre back into his body, so the Spirit tried to force his way in. This act proved a breaking point in their relationship, and Corrigan told the Spirit to leave and never return. With the decades-long partnership between the Spectre and Corrigan officially ended, the Spirit found himself once again summoned by the force that created him to begin with. Though referred to as the Presence in other contexts, at this time it was also increasingly implied to be the force of God itself. Whatever this entity was, it was furious with the Spectre's actions, and was ready to end the Spirit's mission on Earth. In an act of mercy, it gave the Spectre a chance to make things right, but never again as before. Instead, it gave him the Journal of Judgment, which would assign the Spirit tasks to complete without personal intervention or choice. The Spectre, realizing how wrong his recent behavior had been, agreed to repent as instructed, and was magically bound to this book. The Spectre's first task was to pass judgment on a man named Frederick Frost, who sold his soul to a demon, the famed Beelzebub himself. Ultimately, Frost and a corrupt policeman were handed over to the devil at the Spectre's behest. Next, he was tasked with apprehending another criminal named Hickley. No longer bound or even interacting with Jim Corrigan, the Spectre began to focus on what the book commanded him to. He investigated a murderer named Felix, and observed another named Johnny who sacrificed himself to save a child in spite of his fears. Now little more than a passive observer of people good and bad, the Spectre would often determine what to do with these souls. The Spectre would even spare some lives, such as a man named Allie, who felt bad about trying to murder somebody after being taunted into it over a reward. And instead the Spectre claimed the soul of Allie's bully, since the bully was the one who provoked the attack. Thus, the Spectre could sometimes interact with his targets to a degree, such as when he confronted a criminal ventriloquist named Vargo. Presumably, the Spectre was left to complete the entire Journal of Judgment before he was imprisoned in a tomb, tasked to only help humanity when called upon. This happened about a year later, when he was summoned by fellow founder of the JSA, Dr. Fate. Another crisis had emerged in the form of a master world builder from a distant galaxy named Creator 2. This being wanted to force Earths 1 and 2 together into an amalgamated planet, so that he might have enough energy from the resulting experiment to create an entirely new world. The Spectre once again found himself the only force holding Earths 1 and 2 apart once again, though the situation was much more dire this time, and the Spectre had to flatten his corporeal form severely to essentially pry the two planets apart, since they were already so close to each other. Just like last time, holding these two worlds apart in the warp space proved a tremendous strain on the Spectre's body. Unlike the Spectre's first experience holding two worlds apart, because the planets were so close to each other this time around, he couldn't shrink himself down any further. It began to destroy him. While the Spirit protected these two worlds, Dr. Fate and Seiyu the Thunderbolt defeated Creator 2. But by the time this crisis had ended, and the heroes were able to send Earths 1 and 2 once again farther apart from each other, the Spectre was left diminished to a level even his powers couldn't recover from. With this last heroic sacrifice, the Spectre was atoned for his sins and experienced a moment of peace as his corporeal body collapsed in warp space. Though mourned by the Justice Society and the Justice League, the heroes couldn't help but feel that somewhere, in some form, the ghostly hero remained. After all, he was one of the most powerful among them, and it was hard to believe that that power diminished entirely. Indeed, they turned out to be right, and it wouldn't be long before he would emerge in the Bronze Age.